the macroeconomics of it all and then the microeconomics of it all, right? Because you see from a paycheck how it does the whole turn for drugs, right? Yeah. And then for a company, right, with a large employees and how different sectors of it are involved in it and how that puts money into the economy, right? Basically to make the product better, right? So now you get some high quality stuff and, you say, okay, let me put, 25% of the bad stuff for 75% of this, mix it up, so this way you can get some of your money back and, offer it cheaper. I never really felt danger from law enforcement, right? The most pressure I felt, obviously, was from the street, right? Because you got stick-up kids, you got people who want to rob you. I have some customers, basically at all those studio buildings, in the fashion buildings, the advertising, and forget about Wall Street, right?
Those guys lived on it, man. They had that. They worked while doing it. A lot of those guys felt like they worked better with it. Welcome to the second edition of Beyond the Boroughs podcast. Today we got a special guest, which makes it even more special. He's the owner of Beyond the Boroughs, and he's also the owner of Broadway Autos, which building houses Beyond the Boroughs. Mr. Hector Hernandez.
Good day.
Hector, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Hector has a very unique story because what he's accomplished in life and what he's been through in life. And like we said, when we started this podcast, it was going to be very unique with certain people, with certain stories that will intrigue people and show them that life can change and what you could do with your life. And let's get into it, Hector. Let's go, man. Let's tell them who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing now, and let's go, man.
All right. I was born at Metropolitan Hospital in Manhattan, New York, right? We lived in the Bronx, I would say, until 1976, where obviously the Bronx was burning.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We even had Jimmy Carter stop by and say, "Oh, we got to fix this place. It looked like a war zone."
It looked like Beirut.
Exactly. Yeah. Buildings down, crumbled, bricks everywhere. That was our playground.
Yeah.
Right. And so obviously my mother's single. I have no brothers or sisters. So she would thought it'd be better if we moved.
Okay.
Because they had already broken into our house, I would say about 4 times in less than 2 years. They were burglarized. So we packed up. We moved to Washington Heights on 170th Street in Fort Washington. I was about, I would say, 12 years old. We lived there in an apartment with my aunt, uncle, and a cousin.
And all public school the whole time?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I went to Catholic school from 1st grade to 4th grade.
Okay.
I had gotten an encyclopedia the year before that my mother bought me. I think it was Britannica. Oh, no, American. And it came with a science encyclopedia as well.
I remember that.
The blue one. So I started reading that. And obviously, as a kid, you go to school, you ask questions of your teachers, right? And I don't think they like the questions. So it became very difficult since they didn't want to answer them. Obviously, because it was a Catholic school, right? So obviously, nothing there rotated around facts or science.
Yeah.
So because of that, my mother thought, and the school thought as well, I would be better served at a public school.
Oh yeah, Catholic schools are very, if it ain't their way, it's the highway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of me becoming atheist.
Okay.
Right? So yes, we left, that was in 4th grade. After that, straight public schools. In Manhattan, I went to PS 173. That was on 173rd Street between Fort Washington and Broadway, Washington Heights, where a lot of people in that neighborhood went to.
Yeah.
Also, my first introduction, I would have to say, to somewhat the drug game.
Yeah.
Right? There was a park like 3 blocks away on 173rd Street where there was like a known area to get weed, right? And obviously You go to the park, you will see the transactions, you see money, you see the life, you see what they're doing, right? You start seeing this, you kind of like, whoa, what are they doing? How are they doing it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I came kind of intrigued with that. And when I graduated from PS 173, I went to junior high school 143, which is at 183rd between Audubon and Amsterdam, Washington Heights. I think that year also we moved from Fort Washington. I think we were there for 2 years. Then we moved to 191st and Wadsworth Terrace.
And those are all buildings up there.
Yeah, all buildings.
There's no suburban. It's all city life. It's all buildings.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go real back to school. So with the Catholic school, right? Do you think that had a big change in the way you think about religion? The way from what I hear, it's kind of like forced down the kids through the religion factor with the Catholic religion with the schools.
100%. It was like they wouldn't answer no questions. Obviously, right? You learn about the 3 extinction periods during the dinosaur times, right? And how many there were. There was no humans around that time. Yeah. So how was the earth made? And then for millions of years, there was no human beings, right? There were animals, birds, trees, a whole world. For millions, they would get extinct. A whole new world would start. They would go extinct. A whole new world start again, and they went extinct. Yeah. And then from that, we came out. And I believe our history is about 10 to 15,000 years old, right? Yeah. And then before that, they start going with different types of caveman, like they say, right? Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon. So it just didn't jive with what they were teaching at the school, right? So where did God clap his hand and make the earth and in 7 days and then 6 days rested on Sunday? It just didn't fit in.
That school said, this kid's only in the 4th grade. He knows what time it is. Get him the fuck out of here now. So let's go fast forward back to the park now. So now you've seen these guys making money. Mm-hmm. And as a young kid, listen, we're attracted to certain things. Some people attracted to one thing, some people attracted to the other thing. And as a youth, you were attracted to the money.
Exactly. Yeah. The money, and I guess because I was never one for like fancy things, I never wanted to have the most expensive anything. I was never into magazines or I would say, because I had friends that would be always talking about like, what movie stars were wearing, what they were driving, the houses, all that stuff that people used to watch on TV. To me, it was more what it gave you the power to do, right? Which was you can make better decisions for yourself, for your family, right? Okay, we can live in a better neighborhood. We can not have to worry about money, not have to worry about food.
Yeah.
Don't eat that, don't drink this, it's got to last the whole week. So that's the way I saw it. Through my eyes, it was mostly through that, right? Not to be fancy.
Yeah.
So, I always, kept circling and asking questions and looking what it was about, how to do it, who knows about this. And, so you ask questions of friends, some family. And, obviously I met someone that sold weed by ounces.
Okay.
And I bought my first one, rolled it up, and started selling loose joints on the corner of my block on 190th Street in St. Nicholas.
And how old were you at that time?
I would say 13 going on 14.
So you're still in school? So like
yes.
Junior high going to high school?
Yeah.
Nice.
I finished school. So I like school. I never had a problem in school.
Yeah.
Right? It was never difficult for me. Right? I used to do it on the weekends. I'm supposed to be outside playing. Right?
Did your mom notice that you were making money?
Well, no, I used to keep everything away.
Did you? Yeah, you hit it?
Right? Yeah, and I would usually because I always also worked. I always had a job.
Sounds good. Yeah, you balanced it.
And I've been working since I would say probably 10 years old. I had a job with a friend who was a super of a building. He used to let me work on the weekends so I can sweep and mop the stairs and help him throw out the garbage. And then at another time, I bothered the super when we first moved to Washington Heights to give me the same job there, which he did. I used to sweep and mop 7 stories. This was our building. So from the 7th floor all the way down to the 1st floor, sweep him up the stairs, I think twice a week.
Yeah.
I think he used to give me $5, right? Which that time was good money, right? You know? So that work ethic was always in me. I had an uncle also who gave me my first job. He used to be a shipping clerk for a company in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
It was called, they used to make dresses and ship them out throughout the whole country. It was like bridesmaids. And he was just a shipping clerk, but he had a lot of, he built up a good reputation with the owner. So he used to bring me there on the weekends, but we used to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work because we had to be there by 5:30 to open up the factory. You know, so I learned how to get up early and work hard, make my money. So obviously, I took the other work just as serious, right? So I would try to find out what was different, what was better, what was the best way to roll up. So this way I can get more customers. They'll come back happier. They'll buy more, right? So ask questions from the customers. Yeah. So what else do you got? Oh, sometimes we get masculine. I didn't know what the hell that was, right? Tabs, right? Yeah. So I find out. I'd ask. I found the source. Used to get them on the weekends. I think I used to pay 75 cents for each one and sell them for $3.
So mescaline tabs, what people don't know, are little pills. And you would get like a hallucinogenic.
Right. I think it's an LSD.
It's an LSD. Okay.
Yeah. So I met some Cubans that used to make it in the Bronx on paper. They used to make they had color ones, red, green, blue, I think it was.
What they call the purple ones? You remember they had a name for the purple ones? I forgot what they were called. They had weird names for them.
I know they had something like Christmas tree.
Yeah.
They all had weird names. But people, so I would get all the colors. I didn't think there was any difference between anything.
And it was cheap enough, so people bought them, right?
Exactly, on the weekends. So I used to sell those Fridays and Saturdays. While I was doing that, I think I was 14, right, and a half. I used to sell weed to a Cuban guy, who at that time, obviously, I didn't know what he was doing, right? But obviously, I knew he was into something because, I could see the way he moved.
Yeah.
One day he came to, he was a regular customer. He came with a Colombian guy to buy a couple of bags of weed. Then the Colombian dude, introduced himself and he thought I looked kind of, how would you say?
Untainted?
Yeah. And also a familiarity with him because he said he started, later on he tells me, he started his criminal jobs at the age of 5 in Colombia.
Wow.
He was a pickpocket. They teached him and they made him, act like he was, homeless, no money, no this, and he would run around the streets like that and picking people's pockets.
Oh, wow.
But he was very good at it. That they called him Silk Hands.
Oh, shit.
Right?
That's
Crazy, right? So I guess he saw a lot of himself in me.
Good.
Because I've always looked young.
Yep.
So when I was 14, people thought I was 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
Right? So he took a liking to me and he asked me questions. Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know about the white powder? Do you know? And I said, obviously didn't know, but I would say, yeah, I know that. I know what this is. I know what that is, right? To act like. So he could tell I didn't know. So he gave me, I think on the 3rd time he came, like 3 weeks later, he said, yo, you want to come work for me tonight? I'll give you a little job. I said, what? He said, no, I just want you to count some money. So I said, okay, sure. So I went to an apartment. They put me in a room. I think I counted like 300. It was an odd number, like 373, $235. Some weird number, right? Yeah. So, and I counted again because that was odd, right? So when I come back, I tell him, no, this is the number. So he said, okay, that's right. Oh, it is right? I thought there was something wrong. And clearly later on in my life, I realized that was a test.
100%. Well, that's what was an odd number. Yeah.
See what was going on. So he said, thank you. He gave me $100 for doing that, which obviously back then that was huge. Right. Then I think another week he did it again. I think I counted money for him for like 4 times. On that time, he shows me a big bag with white powder in there, right? And it's like about, I would say, a little less than a key coat.
Okay.
He asked me, do you know what this is? I say, yes. And I tell him. And he says, do you know people? Do you know how to sell? I say, and I'm obviously being gassed up. I say, yes, right? And so he taught me everything about the scale, the weight, how you do it, how you sell it.
Back then it was a triple beams back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they use pyramid paper.
Yeah.
So he gave me the runaround. He gave me the grooming.
Okay.
Right? So from there, I used to take 10 grams, bag it up into dimes, 25s, 50s, and start selling. And I would say 4 weeks later, I was doing about 10 times the amount.
So were you on the corner? Yeah, your own little corner.
Yeah.
Where you did your own work on the corner.
Yes. So I think I would say...
Sorry, Hector, can you please pull a mic forward? Mic closer to you.
I would say, on the 4th week, I think I was already doing 50 grams a week.
Wow.
Right? So I decided to leave. A friend of mine's there, let him work, and I stood in the apartment.
Wow.
Right? Because, you had to keep bagging up continuously, right?
Yeah.
It was getting to be a lot.
Yeah.
So I would say I did that for about another, let's call it 10 weeks. Then I gave that whole thing to another friend of mine, and I would just give him the weight. So I would say, here's on your 25. This is what you got to give me back.
Yeah.
Right? From the 125, you guys bag it up. And then if you get anybody that wants anything from 1.75 or more, I'll take care of them in the apartment.
Yeah.
So I just stood in the apartment.
Yeah.
So I was off the streets.
You guys had walkie-talkies?
No,
radios?
not at that time.
No
because,
radios?
At that time, Washington Heights wasn't Washington Heights yet.
Okay.
Right? This is 19...
Which is the late 80s?
No, this is late 70s, early 80s.
Early 80s.
Yes.
Okay. In the 90s, the late 80s, 90s, it got to the radios, right? Maybe mid?
I would say by 84, 85, Washington Heights was becoming what it was known for.
Yeah.
Right? Where everybody's coming from Massachusetts, Connecticut.
With the lookouts and the radios.
Right.
Yeah.
It was going crazy, right? But when I was there, actually, the upper part of Washington Heights still belonged to Cubans. That's how come that Cuban guy was there.
Wow.
Right? Because it was really like a small Cuban enclave, right? That it was there. They owned all the bars, the businesses.
Wow, I didn't know
at that time,
I didn't know that. But when I was familiar with watching that, it was mostly Dominicans.
Yeah. No, they started coming early 80s. That's when they really started coming in numbers, and they started moving in there and taking over, right? Yeah. And I would say once I started doing the weight, I think I got my second apartment, I would say by 6 months.
So when you say second apartment, it's not where you live.
No.
It's where you did your work.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The second.
So people know that's the work. That's the work
I'll
apartment.
call them for offices.
Yeah,
now,
offices. Yeah.
Right. And obviously everything back then, not walkie-talkies, beepers. That's what we use.
You beep, you know where to go. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So kind of like the office setup was mostly where you get the apartment, you buy it off for somebody, because obviously I couldn't get a lease at my age, right? I'm 15 years old and I look like I'm 12, right? So, I would ask around, you know anybody that wants to move out of their apartment? Tell them I give them 3 Gs, 5 Gs. Yeah. Obviously the rent back then was like $500. Right? Wow. So I will buy the apartment. They can take the furniture, whatever. I just wanted the apartment with at least a year, 2 year lease. Right? Yeah. So that's what I was doing. So when I bought the second one, and I would try to get a building that was close by a block at least to a public phone, right? Because there was no cell phones back then, right? Mm-hmm. So this way the customers can call on the beeper, put what they needed, and then come upstairs, right? And obviously not to have too much foot traffic, with making noise, right? We always quieted the door, changed all the hinges, made it where the door, when you open or close it, made no noise. And the doorbell was a light, right? So this way it never rang, right? And that's it. You don't want your neighbors knowing what was going on. So basically I would leave 3 guys, 1 door guy, 1 security guy, and the son of the guy that's bagging it up, 3.5.
And this is all cocaine. This isn't crack.
No, just cocaine. Yeah, there was no crack back then.
Yeah.
Right, and I think by the end of the year, I had, I would say, 8 apartments running from Dykeman to about 161st Street.
165. We were talking about Dykeman. I said Las Vegas. I remember the nightclub. Yeah, I remember Las Vegas over there. Yeah.
So, in them days also was a big club era, right?
Yeah,
everybody was clubbing.
Yeah.
There was still Studio 55, Broadway 96, Lamplight, Underground. I mean, there were so many clubs.
Yeah.
And obviously, already as a teenager, I like to go out. So, I used to almost go out basically every night, right? But I still go to school, do my work while I was in school. If I had, let's say, second period was math, I would do that homework in third period. Then the third period homework, the next period.
Yeah.
So this way, by the time the end of the day, I was done. I just go home, take a quick nap, go to the offices, start working, and then after that, go clubbing.
So you seen that change when cocaine was a thing, and then the fucking crack era came.
Yes.
Was it a different? It had to change the whole game. And it had to change the customer, right?
Oh, it was bad. But since I never was selling, dimes anymore, by then I was strictly just weight. So how I broke my offices down was I would give each office whatever they could do in a week. I would give them the work for a week. It was 3 keys, 5 keys. Here's that. You got to give me this much money, right? I would say they can never do this, like cut the product more than what this, and they couldn't beat people. They couldn't, because obviously it was my reputation. Right? So I made sure, and any customer had an issue, they can call me. Right. So everything ran smoothly because it was all friends from school. So I never had an issue with that, and they were making great money. It wasn't that I was trying to keep all of it. Right. I guess the success was so good. There came a time, right? Obviously, you start getting jewelry, you start getting clothes, you get cars, you start falling in the light of the detectives. So I used to get pulled over 2-3 times a week.
So, and how old are you at this time, Hector? What's your age at this time?
I would say 16.
And what are you making a week for yourself? Like
take home, I would say about close to 100.
100 grand.
Yeah.
At 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Wow.
But you spend it, right? Like nothing, right? Because you pay for everybody's drinks, you pay for everybody's stuff, and it don't come in as 100. Right? It comes in as, okay, this day we made 18,000, right? So, let's go buy this, let's go buy that, let's go buy this, right? You almost living paycheck to paycheck.
Because you're blowing as quick as you got it.
You buy your guy a car, you buy your other friend a car, so this way everybody can be driving, or let's go get some bikes, right? I go buy some jewelry, I'm going to buy them some jewelry,
that's your crew. You take your crew with you, you go shopping.
So every time you buy something, you go there, you blow 3 Gs, 4 Gs, 5 Gs, you go out for the night, so you could blow money. You say, not really. You know what I mean? Because you get caught up in the life, you get caught up in that moment. You're with your friends who are your brothers, right? And and obviously you do have losses. It's not always you get, you're always going to get great products. Sometimes you can get bad products. I've gotten plenty of times where, I get a load of 100 keys and 20 of them are garbage.
Wow.
Right? So now you got to start using that as cut, basically to make the product better, right? So now you get some high quality stuff and, you say, okay, let me put, 25% of the bad stuff or 75% of this, mix it up, so this way you can get some of your money back and, offer it cheaper. So, that's why I always tell people, so it's not like a real job where it's the same paycheck all the time. Right? And then obviously, when I was giving the apartments was one aspect of it. Then I had my wholesale customers, people that had their own apartments.
So those are people buying the keys.
Right.
They're not buying the fucking bags.
Exactly.
They're buying weight.
Right. Now those were my customers that I kept. Right.
And would you give it to them? Would it be on credit? Majority of the time?
Usually it was half and half.
Okay.
Right? If they had money to buy 1, I would give them 2.
Okay.
Right? If they had money to buy 3, I would give them 6. I always kind of like doubled it, to help them out. Right? And obviously in those things, you have losses. Sometimes they'll go do a sale and it happens to be a cop. Right?
Yeah.
Or it's a sale and it happens to be a sticker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, then you lose 2 here, 3 there, right?
So now, if it's a stick up, is that guy responsible for that money still?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if he set himself up, right? But the way I would do it is I would let him work it off, right? So I would give him the work at half the profit margin I would make. So if I was charging people, let's say 30, and I was getting it at, let's say 10, and I'm making 20, and I'm making 10, I'll make 5.
Yeah.
So he could take that extra 5 and take it off his bill so he can still have room to make money.
Yeah.
Right? And he'll feel better about himself, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay because you just work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, usually the other people that will make people, you still got to pay for the regular price. And then they'll start going and taking extra risk, right? And that extra risk can fall on you, right? So I always thought that was stupid. So, I did it my way. Pay me in a month, I'm done.
So now the customers, right? Like the small customers. So a lot of times these people would go uptown Manhattan, right? And then they go into clubbing. That was the thing, right? Go uptown first, get what you got to go, and go party like a motherfucker at a club in New York City.
Exactly.
So you've seen every type of person come up there, right?
Oh, yeah.
From the rich white people to the average Joe to, right?
I mean, I used to have some producers at the CBS studio, the ones in the 50s.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's like a huge building. It takes up blocks. I have some customers basically at all those studio buildings, in the fashion buildings, the advertising, and forget about Wall Street. Right?
Those guys lived on it, man. They worked while doing it. A lot of those guys felt like they worked better with it.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. Yeah. And I mean, I used to give to the kids that used to stand there in those corners down there. And I mean,
in the Wall Street area?
Yeah, they used to sell right there on the block. Because it was so jam packed, right? You have all these, stockbrokers, making huge money on their commissions, and they come down, they're excited, boom, 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 buying like crazy, and they paying stupid money.
They're paying more than everybody else.
Yes, exactly, and they don't care, and even if it was garbage, they still buy it. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, it was amazing. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, the way you see, for me, seeing the macroeconomics of it all, and then the microeconomics of it all, right? Because you see from a paycheck how it does the whole turn for drugs, right? Yeah. And then for a company, right, with a lot of employees, and how different sectors of it are involved in it, and how that puts money into the economy, right? And you're like super amazed, like, wow, that's when people start thinking, well, the government got to be in it, right? They got to be approving it, right? Because
conspiracy theory.
Yes, because it's so obvious. Obviously, and obviously not. But obviously, I got older and I learned more on economics. Obviously, no one wants that because clearly you want your workers to be healthy and working all the time, not home and sick, right? Because then they pay less taxes and they ask money from the government rather than give the government money.
Yeah. So that's the era where. That's when 42nd Street was still bumping. It was still with the clubs, the fucking peep shows.
Exactly, and it was weird. Like most of the businesses on 42nd Street were electronic stores. Some weird shit. Yeah,
there was a lot of peep shows there back then. Right?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, the peep shows.
There was peep shows and movie theaters. Right? They must have been
the porno theaters, man.
Exactly, from I would say 8th Avenue to Broadway on 42nd Street, that really long block. I would say there must have been 30 theaters or more.
Fuck. Yeah. And they were always packed back then, right?
Right. That's where we used to go watch the karate flicks, right?
Oh, the fucking Bruce Lee?
Yeah. You watch 3 movies, for like about $1. Yeah. Right? You go in there early, you watch 3 movies. And obviously, like you say, they had the Rated X movies there. Yeah. They had the peep shows there. Yeah. And then the stores that I'm saying, a lot of electronics for some weird reason. But then on 42nd, of course, you went from one corner to the other. Yeah. And I would say every 5 feet, you ran into hookers, drugs. 5 feet, hookers and drugs. 5 feet, hookers and drugs. It was just so packed with hookers and drugs there. It was amazing. I mean, I was like, what the hell?
When people look back, you look at videos back then, you're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, and it was all out in the open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow, you would see it. You'd be like, mama. And you see the cops walking by. Fucking, you see the cop back then smoking a cigarette, walking by on his beat. You know, it's fucking wild. I remember as a kid going by there, and I'm like, I didn't realize then, but now I realize when I look back and I think, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing there so young, walking around there?
Yeah. It was really crazy back then, and you know, it was amazing. I guess I don't know, maybe the people that were leaving the city in so many in droves, the tax base. I mean, I don't know what was going on in the city that it decayed so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it took a big hit, man. I kept wondering, like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, and I don't know why. And, you know, I guess, I don't know. I do remember seeing and reading when they opened up Co-op City in the Bronx.
Okay.
Right? It took a lot of middle-class people that were, let's say, in the Lower East Side, in the Bronx, on the concourse, and they moved there.
Yeah.
And there was so many vacant apartments that they started renting to welfare, you know, people that need help. So they all moved in, and it just went all downhill from there.
You know, it's funny because I remember I just watched a documentary in the Bronx the other day because last year I went to the first Yankee game at the new stadium. And I remember walking around. I was like, wow, I remember as a kid how fucked up it was. Then I went home that day. So let me watch a documentary in the Bronx. And it was saying that back then, the landlords who owned these buildings couldn't rent them. So said, fuck it, I'm going to get the insurance money, just torch these motherfuckers. Yep. And that's what they did. And it just became like a playground of like a war zone for kids. Yes. Mattresses, cars, the graffiti, the hookers. Remember Fort Apache, the Bronx?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I lived, where I lived at in the Bronx was 170th Street between Grand Concourse and Jerome Avenue. I lived basically 9 blocks away from Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
You know, because it's on Jerome Avenue. Yeah. Right? And I used to go there. And
that's the exit for Yankee Stadium, Jerome Avenue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there. That's what I'm saying. I was literally 9 blocks away from Yankee Stadium.
Oh, shit.
So I used to go there as a kid, right? Because you can go get in there with $3. Yeah. Right? You know, the bleachers, they were like, I think it was 75 cents. Really? Yeah, and 76, 7. Let me see. I think I went there. My first game was, I think, in 75. Maybe like 75. Yeah, 1975. So, you know, 75 cents for the bleachers. Yeah. Right? But obviously it was just back then it was a piece of wood. Yeah, right? Yeah. It just sat there, right? But
it was wild back then, right?
It was empty. So I think maybe they averaged 15,000 people at a game, at a regular game. You know, not a Boston Red Sox game, but you know, a regular game against the Royals or something, right? Yeah. But you would get in, pay your stuff, walk all the way around. And you could get box seats, you know, because nobody was there. Sit there and you were living large.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's wild. So let's push now to, all right, so now the drug game. So now you got your small, you're doing the little bags with the apartments, and then you got your weight customers. And then now the crack customer comes into play. What year was that? What do you think the big crack wave came in the city?
I would say it started about 85. From 84, 85, it started, I would say 84 because they like in 83, people were already basing, right? Okay. You know, I don't know why they wanted to call it crack, but they did, right? Because all you're really doing is just breaking the crystallization down of the cocaine, right? And you know, you can do it with any substance, right? Yeah. And what they would do is now what you're really making it is just a little more denser. Okay. Right? And obviously since it becomes a little bit more oilier, right? So I guess the dosage, the concentration of it is just stronger, right? So people were doing that already with ammonia, right? You know, throw it in ammonia, then strain it, and then scrape it off and smoke that, right? And then they started doing water and baking soda to do the same thing. So they went from basing, which is what Richard Pryor did when he blew his face off, right? It wasn't crack back then. That's why.
It was freebase.
Right. But basically that's what crack is, right?
So that's how he fucking burns himself.
Exactly. So I would say when I started seeing the plastic bottles and it just being sold in nickels and dimes and 20s, I would say 1984, 4.
So when you see the thing with cocaine and crack, they said that crack brought a different customer now because cocaine was always figured as a rich man's drug. You got to have money.
Right.
You know, you spend $100, $200. When that crack came out, you got a little vial for $5 fucking.
Right.
So now you got the blue collar guy who can afford it, who's getting fucked up now. And you know what? You see what happened to a guy that got hooked on that. You had a guy who was working, you know, a job, and then he just he wasn't that guy no more. Mm-hmm. Basically, right? You see the transformation of these people, right?
No, it was nuts. That's what they used to call, like you say, crack babies, the crack zombies at night.
Yeah.
You know, you go out at night in the city, you know, 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and you see these dudes out there looking to steal anything.
I know.
I mean, they're, you know, hubcaps, dirt, garbage, and just look for it to see what they can. Yo, give me $1 for this. Give me $12 for this, right?
Yeah, crazy.
You know, they were bugging it. And it was still cocaine. It just, the concentration and the addiction that it caused by smoking it, because the high was so short-lived, right? Yeah. You know, people do a couple of lines, boom, and they got a nice high for maybe 45 minutes, right? Yeah. Then they do a couple more, you know, another 45 minutes, right? It's not a constant, like every 2 minutes you got to take a hit. Yeah. Well, with crack, right? You know, they smoke, boom, they get that initial rush for about 2 minutes, and they're right back at it again, right? And then to get more, they pour more, and they pour more, and then, you know, and that's why a lot of people blew their hearts out, right, with that crack, because I guess the extremists, right? The people that are extremists, right?
They want to keep on going.
Right. Like you got people that smoke 4 packs of cigarettes a day, right? Yeah. You got a guy that when he drinks beer, he just has to drink, you know, 2 6-packs, right? And that's just, you know, like you lose water, right? So having this type of mentality of this, obviously you get to crack.
Ooh, forget it.
And it's over, super crack. Yeah. Because I can't really, I know they try to say that you have withdrawal systems from it, but I think it was always more mental than the actual physical. Not like heroin. The heroin is more physical, right?
These guys have to go through withdrawals, with the shakes and stuff.
Exactly. So, and it was terrible. I mean, I never sold crack, right? Yeah. You know, my thing was always to sell just the powder. And, you know, and I stood away from that because the attention it would bring, the customers it would bring.
Yeah, you had a different type of customer.
It was just so ugly. It's like, you know, and
what they did to get it, like steal from fucking family members. That shit ruined families. That ruined people's lives because they would steal, man. That's a bad fucking drug. Mm-hmm. And the worst part is when you see like these addicted people, like these women were selling their bodies for crack, and then now they're having unsafe sex. So now they get STDs and they have babies. And now you're having a baby, she can't give up.
Don't remember, that's the beginning of the AIDS epidemic.
Yes.
And that really made it spread even more, right? Yes. You know, that crack addiction, because like you say, people were having sex for it and giving it all over the place. And, you know, you had dudes that, I mean, let's say, I guess they say they weren't gay, but maybe they say they bi, right? Yeah. And they will go downtown just to get money and do what they doing, and then they will get AIDS, and then they will give it to their girl, and you know, it was weird. I mean, I seen so many people that you were like, damn, how he get it? But then you know, as I got older, I remember, he was smoking crack. I know what he did. He went down to the piers in Manhattan. Back then, I think it was in the 50s, like 57, 55th Street, 50th Street. There was some on the west side of Manhattan, like some piers. Yeah. And that was like a gay hangout. Like, I guess they would go there to walk around and, you know, scope each other out, right? Yeah. To pick each other up, right? And what would happen was that they'd go there, make their money, right? Nobody knew, right? Undercover. Then they would come back up, you know, buy their drugs. But, you know, they had wives, they had girlfriends, right? So they're spreading it, you know, and they don't even realize what was going on, right? You know, so it took a lot of years for me to realize that, but, you know, that these dudes had died from that. Because I said, well, they weren't junkies, they weren't this. But then, obviously, that was the link.
They're like, motherfucker. Like, you never knew. Yeah, so crazy, man.
So, you know, that crack helped spread that even more.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree.
It was a big facilitator.
I agree. So now your crew, when you had your crew, you had a bunch of guys you with.
Not in Washington Heights, right? They were more, I would say, 1099 guys, right?
Okay.
You know, they were more like independent contractors, right? They're still part of it, right? With friends, we're hanging out, but it was more, okay, I'm the wholesale distributorship.
You're the franchise.
Right.
And they're the franchisees.
Right. They got their own little stores, but you got to buy all your product from me.
Yep.
Exactly.
Got it.
When I did have, let's say, workers where, you know, they were on the payrolls when I had to leave the city.
Yep.
You know, it was way too hot for me already.
Yep.
Every day, once, twice, and sometimes even 3 times, I would get, you know, pulled over, thrown out the car, searched, this, that, the other. You know, you're going to get caught at some point, right? You can't be, you know, on point all the time. So I moved out to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And
what part of Brooklyn? Where in Brooklyn we at?
Williamsburg.
Wow, Williamsburg's very nice now. See that shit now?
Yes. And Williamsburg at that time looked like the Bronx.
Yes, I remember.
Mm-hmm. Almost half the brownstones were all burnt out.
Yeah.
You know, the streets were crazy. You would see hundreds of people lined up, just like in the Lower East Side.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, right? Where you see all the junkies lined up on the block trying to buy heroin. And I mean, you see them lined up. You be like, is they giving out government cheese? No, they just buying drugs and nobody was doing nothing. So that's in Williamsburg in the South Side. So I went there. I had some customers from Brooklyn for the coke. Then they started asking for if I can find them heroin.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So I used to buy a lot of fireworks, you know, for Washington Heights. And so I had a couple of friends and they were from, you know, actually both different gangs in Chinatown. Somewhere from the Ghost Shadows, somewhere from the Flying Dragons. Okay. So obviously I went up to them and said, listen, because they also used to buy coke off of me, you know, for the whorehouses that they used to manage for their...
Oh, the Chinese ones?
Yeah.
Massage parlor thing.
Right, which mostly packed with Korean women. Yeah. Right? So they used to buy weight so they can sell coke in Chinatown, right? So one day I asked him, listen, I'm getting a lot of requests for heroin. Yeah. You know, can you guys get it for me? And the guy from the Flying Dragons, I forgot his name now. And he got me a brick, which at that time was a unit of 700 grams. I think he charged me like 70 grand, right? But I was able to get 120 for it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that was a big profit margin. I'm making 50 a little package like this now. Yeah. Right? You don't make that in coke because coke back then had dropped so much. I think I was making like 3,000 or 5,000 per key in coke now. Wow. Yeah, it was in the high teens, low 20s. Right? Wow. Yeah, I mean, and it was getting worse, right? Yeah. I mean, I think the worst it ever got was 1986 and 87. It was like 12, 11, 13. Yeah. It was like nothing. I mean, you know, there was almost no money, which is why I had to get now sourced all the way down in Texas so I can keep that profit margin to make it, you know, worth it. Yeah, worth it to do it, right? So with the heroin now in the South Side, so you know, we start 1, turn to 5, turn to 10, and it just blew up because most people were getting their heroin at that time from other sources, right? Some from Italians, some from the Pizza Connect, some from a couple of, let's say, Pakistani, you know, so everybody was getting the regular keys of heroin, you know, that people mostly know of, right? Yeah. So it was the beginning of the Chinese, right? But I didn't know that a lot of the heroin was also getting repackaged as keys were cut, right? And they were selling it like it was something else. But that was what, you know, the other competitions were doing, whether it was the Italians or, you know, whoever was getting it from them to repackage and sell, right?
So a lot of people remember, like with heroin, a lot of people store processes American Gangster, where they were stamping it. Remember, like they all had their little stamps and stuff like that.
Exactly,
like,
and it was the same thing.
What was American Gang? What was it? Blue Magic.
Right, Blue Magic. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing in Brooklyn. You know, I had my own stamps, my own labels as well. Some of the customers that I had that I would sell to, they had their own stamps because that's the only way you would sell it. Stamps, right? That people could recognize it, right? So I had a lot of friends who were my competition, but we were friends, right? And obviously there was always, you know, the bad people that were always trying to rob people or, you know, get work from you and not pay you. And, you know, everybody that was like kind of the same way knew
who not to fuck with.
Right, who to stay away from. Don't let them see this. They do that. They like to be stick-up kids or they do this, they do that. So you always, in that game, you always had to be with a show of force, right? It was a very violent enterprise. It wasn't so much like with the coke, you know? And even to crack. Crack is different, right? But the heroin game was very violent for several reasons. Obviously, the amount of money, right? Also, power over blocks, neighborhood, right? You could be here, you can't be there.
Yeah.
You don't do this, you don't do that, right?
Almost like the food truck guy. This is my zone, that's your zone. Don't bring your shit here, don't bring my shit there.
Exactly. So, obviously, so much money is being made. You would figure, I would say, I like to break it down into three groups, right? The groups that made $300,000 a day or plus. And then you had the guys that did 150 to 250, right? Medium. Then you had the guys that did, 50, 75, 100 a day, right? Some guys would just do the 100 a day and they close because they were probably getting packages from a bigger guy, right? And this is the work for today, right? Which is one of the ways I did mine. So I would just get, let's say, lieutenants, give them their work for the day, what I thought they can do, whether it was 20, 25, 30, 40 grand, give them all their work. They would sell it, bring back my money and take out their PC.
So now question now. So you've seen the change like in the force as far as like the police force in New York City. So now, is Giuliani in at this time or no?
No, Giuliani.
He's not in yet.
No, he came 2 years after I was in the feds already.
Oh, so he came after.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got locked up in 89. He was actually the U.S. attorney. He was the prosecuting attorney.
For your case?
Not for mine.
Yeah.
But for the guys in Manhattan, because he was the U.S. attorney in Manhattan, which is the Southern District. In my district, which is the Eastern District, which is for Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
We had, I forgot his name, but another U.S. attorney, right? I think he went on to become just like a big lawyer in a big law firm, but not like Giuliani, who had political aspirations, right?
Yeah.
You know? So he prosecuted the mob, right? He did this. He got rid of all the mob from, where they make the clothes at the fashion sector, right? So he went after, headlines.
So who was then? Who was back then when you? You know who it was?
Dinkins.
Oh, it was David Dinkins. So Dinkins came after Koch. It was Koch then Dinkins, right?
No, I think
was it Mayor Koch then Dinkins, or Dinkins then Koch?
Right after Koch, it wasn't Dinkins. I think it was somebody else, and I think then Dinkins, because Koch was done by what? By 1980?
I don't know.
I can't remember. I wasn't voting back then anyway at that time. But I think there was somebody in between there. And then after Dinkins is when Giuliani.
Koch, Dinkins, yeah.
Oh, so it was
Koch, Dinkins, Giuliani, Bloomberg, de Blasio, and Adams. That's where we're at, yeah.
All right, so then Koch was mayor into what, 1989?
Koch did, from 78 to 89.
Yeah, so he was my mayor the whole time.
Yeah, wow, shit. So now, Hector, let me ask you a question now. So now you're blowing up. You're making fucking ton of money. You got your crew, your guys working under you, making money. When did you kind of feel like, yo, man, this shit ain't gonna last forever? Like, something's feeling fucking weird now. Something's going sideways where, listen, at a young age, when you're doing that shit, people watching you. They know, listen, they know you're not coming from a family that's got a ton of money. You got a car, like you said, you're flashing the money. You're doing this and that. When did you feel like, fuck, man? Like, you know when you have that feeling in your body, you kind of know, man. When did it say, yo, this is something's going here?
I would say like by 87, late 87.
And how old were you at the time?
I would say I was maybe 19 going on 20.
So you had a stretch from fucking 14 to about 19 to 20.
22 when I got locked
When you got locked up. But at that 19, so you got 5 years in the fucking game, making a shitload of fucking money. More than people making their fucking lifetime. As a kid from the street that went to Catholic school, regular Catholic school wasn't fucking for you because you saw a bigger picture.
Right.
And you were attracted to the fucking money. And attracted to the money is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing,
No,
man.
it's not.
But it gave you desire. Your desire just went a different way. But
exactly.
so now you're feeling that shit at 19 years old. So what do you think happened? Like you just got so fucking big. They were eyeballing you because they were like, hey, who's this guy?
It's what I never really felt danger from law enforcement.
Okay.
Right? The most pressure I felt obviously was from the street, right? Because you got stick-up kids, you got people who want to rob you. So for me to think and say, okay, how do you extract yourself, right? Retire, right? Without having people coming after you.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you pull out of the game? It's not,
Right. People are going to say, oh, where he's at. Oh.
Why did he pull out?
No, and then you have no more workforce, right? No more security, no more team. That's like let's say a general, and now he has no more military, no more soldiers, no more armaments, right? Yeah. So now if something happens, you're all by yourself, right? So how do you extract yourself, right? You can move. I was never going to leave the city, right? I'm a city person, right? I would never leave New York, so I can't see myself in Virginia, Arizona, with the money retired. Obviously, you can run away and you can hide and you'll be okay. But that wasn't me. So that was my thinking. So what I tried to do was move into many more businesses. Right? Yeah. So this way I can have managers, workers, right, who were from my original business, right? But also wanted to,
to eventually get out, to do a life. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So this way they can make good money. So I was doing this, and the businesses weren't really so much for me to live off of, right? Which was a mistake, right? Because that thin line of profit can not be very good if you need the profit for the business, right? So then you'd always dishing money out to make up for it, right?
For the business.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was a lot of mistakes there. The idea, I think, was good. Because,
what kind of business? What was it business-wise? What was it?
Grocery stores, restaurants, dealership, auto repair, body shop, basically all kind of stuff. Let me see. Pizzeria I had one time. A liquor store.
Basically, whatever thought you got a good deal on, you bought it?
Yeah.
Okay, if you feel you can make money with it, it's like, fuck it, let me give it a shot.
But since I wasn't there, right, you're not keeping an eye on it, you're not managing it because I'm still in the street, it's not going to be there.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Yeah. So the only place I would go almost on a daily basis was to the dealership, right? Because I was a car guy, right? I love vehicles, so I would be there almost every day, right? So that was a lesson learned, right? So, but the idea was to do that. Maybe I have 20 different businesses, and each one has 5 to 10 employees. There you go. I'm still got 75 to 100 guys with me, right? Yeah. They're making their money. They got their houses, their cars. They still doing good for themselves, right? Yeah. So we all band together. We stay together. We kind of create like a conglomerate, right? Yeah. So this way, we keep each other safe. Yeah. That was kind of like what I was trying to move to.
Yeah. So now question now, did you start seeing like your guys around you start getting popped? Like, fuck, they just got him. Fuck, they got him. Did you start seeing that motion rolling?
Yes, especially in the ending of 88 to the beginning of 89, right? It was like everywhere. Boom. Oh, they just caught this guy buying five keys of heroin. Boom. They just caught this guy with 10 keys of coke. It was like almost every 3 to 5 days, somebody I knew, boom, right? Wow. And it was people that were in crews, right? Like you say, people that had stamps that were getting caught.
Because
right?
it was being tracked,
Right. So obviously on the outside, I was not really known in law enforcement, right? They didn't have no pictures of me, they didn't know who I was, or any of that, right? So, which was to my advantage, because they would ask people, right? And, oh, I don't know what he looks like, I don't know what he looks like, I don't know what he looks like, right? They never knew who I was.
Yeah.
So the 1989, they catch one guy that I was selling to, that I had stopped selling to in 86 because I didn't like his style, the way he moved.
Okay.
So someone in his crew called me because I knew his father.
Yeah.
So he kind of got me by saying, yo, my father wants to talk to you. He said if you could come to the store. So I said, okay, right? You know, I know his father, right? So when I get there, that's when I get arrested by the feds.
Oh, fuck. So that was it. So you thought this is a regular conversation. Let me go see this fucking guy now, and boom.
And boom. I didn't have no money, no drugs, nothing on me. So why would it be a setup?
So now they arrest you, right? So now it's the feds. This ain't the fucking state.
Mm.
So the feds arrest you now. Now you go to your bail hearing. What's the bail they hit you at? And what kind of charges they fucking hit you at right now?
No bail.
No bail.
And the first charge, because 3 months before that, I had a grocery store in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And there was a murder, right?
Yeah.
So they were trying to link the murder to me, which it wasn't, right? So now that was the premise at the bail hearing to say no bail.
Oh, conspiracy of murder. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
You know? So then now, what is it, like 40 days later when we go down for the indictment, because they kept coming out with indictments like every 3 weeks, right? More charges for everybody, right? Because there was like around, I would say, I think there was 52 people on the information, right? And then I think it went down to 42 on the indictment at the end, right? And obviously the indictment was humongous, you know, like 150 counts, you know, on a RICO charge. Right. Wow. So, you know, they put everything in there, you know, all the murders. There must have been like 22 scores of, you know, torturing, kidnapping, because kidnapping, obviously, beating somebody up and you pull them more than 6 feet. That's called kidnapping. Yeah. Right. So, all those charges kept getting worse. So, obviously, we know no bail whatsoever. Yeah. You know? So, and obviously, the feds have a great winning record. Right.
And how old are you at this time now? What age are you?
22.
22 years old. Fuck. So now you got all these charges against you. You're an attorney. So how many felonies did they hit you with?
Oof. On the first indictment, they gave me 12.
Okay.
But by the time I went to trial, it was 4.
4. So they brought it down to 4. So now you went to trial.
Right.
And you blew trial?
Yes.
You blew trial. So now when you blow trial now, what was the offer before you didn't go to trial? What did they offer you? Do you remember?
Yeah, they were offering me to plead guilty to 20 to life.
Okay.
Right? Which obviously a minimum of 20. But on the guidelines with everything they were trying to put, I would have wound up with like 40 years, right?
40 years.
That's not a cop-out. Yeah. Especially for what they had me for. Because in that case, and that's why I decided to go to trial, because the feds had changed the law.
Okay.
Right? Up until 1987, there was parole in the feds, right? And most of the RICO charges, mostly everything, was capped at 20 years, right? There was some life, but life with parole, right, meant that if they gave you life, you can see the parole board in 10 years.
Oh, wow. With a life sentence.
With a life sentence, right? Okay. A parolable one. I mean, they had life with no parole, right? So what I was looking at was saying, okay, I know what I did in this case. Yeah, I knew this guy in 86. I sold him drugs for 4 months in 1986. Yeah. What could he say? Yeah, he sold me 50 keys, 100 keys. Okay, fine. But that was in 86. Because the last time I think I sold him anything was September of 1986. September of 1986. Yeah, September of 1986 was the last time I seen him. Right, because we were on the boat for July of 86 for the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty celebration.
Fireworks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and he was happy to be with Frankie.
Oh yeah, oh shit. Wow.
Yeah,
Shit.
it was me, him, the rat, Frankie, and our girlfriends.
Oh,
Right?
shit,
Yeah, we were out there for that celebration. So it was. So now I'm thinking, okay, they give me the most. It's 20 years.
Yeah.
First time offender. My first parole is year 7. Let's say they max me out. Okay, I do 12 years.
Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
and I'm done. Right? Why would I plead guilty to 40? Right? Because I ain't got nothing to do with anything that came after.
Yeah.
I was gone. Right? But I go to trial. When I blow, they charged me with that murder at the grocery store.
Oh fuck.
Right?
Yeah.
And since that's in 1989, that's how they overlap it to give me the new law. Even though the murder has nothing to do with drugs, right? Or with the case. So it's kind of one of the reasons I gave back the life sentence, right?
Yeah.
Because I argued that in a motion at my sentencing hearing. So the judge had to rewrite my PSI and they reduced the murder. They were really supposed to throw it out. But if they threw it out, I would have got the old law. So they left it in there as a 2nd-degree murder.
Wow.
Right? Which was like 13 years.
Yeah.
But because they give me the new law for the drugs is what got me all the time, not the murder.
So when they sentence you in the feds, what do they say? It's fucking life?
Well, yeah,
It's basically life, they tell you.
Yes,
The
because
sentence.
you get your PSI,
Okay.
right, which is a probation report. You open it up, there's numbers in there, it adds up, and it says, okay, sentence, life, right? So then when I get my PSI, that's when I go to the law library and start looking up stuff, and I find some good case law that shows that they never prove the essential element for that charge to be charged as a RICO. Right? So, because the witness just said, I saw him do it. Okay, why?
Yeah.
No one knows why.
Fucking law library, man.
Right. So then why are you?
There for.
Yeah. So why is this in this charge? Right?
Yeah.
So, I guess they figure, we drop it to 2nd and, we just let him stick it to him like that.
Yeah.
So that was how I was able to give back the life sentence and get then 465 months.
So now, you did, how many years you did total?
25.
So 25, and you going at what age?
22.
So you came out at 47.
Yes.
47. So now, you're out of prison now. You did fucking 25 fucking years in the feds, man. You made a lot of acquaintances there.
Yes.
I remember you telling me about one that was very interesting when you were going through trial.
Yeah, John, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember that story. Let's fucking say that story because that's a fucking awesome story, man. Tell them about your co-defendant and what happened with that situation because that's a story, man. That fucking wow. I was blown the fuck away when you told me that.
Yes. I had gotten a dirty urine in MCC, right, for smoking weed. So obviously I'm in the hole. And at that time, John Gotti, they brought him down from his floor and he became my roommate. Okay. Right? Because the hole was packed. So they were in the same cell together. So, obviously we're in the hole, right? Yeah. There's 23-hour lockdown, right? Yeah. So there's nobody to talk to except each other, right? So obviously we start talking about each other's lives. He tells me, I grew up in the Bronx, poor, shoes with holes in them, cardboard, his coat's all full of snots from, elbow to ear, and how his family was on home relief, which was great, nice, interesting story. He was a big reader. He liked to read books. He was also atheist. He didn't believe in religion or God, right? Very big on that. And very, very personable. Yeah. Someone who you can kind of get why people were
drawn to him.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was that guy. He was that guy.
He wasn't stuck up. Like, the notoriety didn't make him somebody like standoffish, right? We would go on the visit and you would see how he would just treat everybody in the visiting room and all the kids buy stuff from the machines for everybody to give out, So very giving, right? So, it was nice of him to share the story with me. Yeah. So as we're talking, I think maybe the third or fourth day, I noticed he has a big scar on his leg, right? That was kind of new. So I said, "Oh, what happened to you there?" He said, "Oh no, I was on 11 North, and this kid that I was working out with, he brought some coffee, hot water in a peanut butter plastic jar, right? But by the time he got to him to pour it in the cup, it melted. So all that hot water landed on his leg.
Oh, wow.
And gave him 3rd-degree burns.
Wow.
I mean, the skin came right off, right? So when he's telling me the story, he says, I said, yeah, what's his name? He says, JR. Oh, that's my co-defendant, right?
Yeah.
So when he realized that, then we go into a little bit deeper, right? That right after that, he ran, he stood in his room, he didn't want to come out because he thought, the movies, they're going to kill me and this and that, right?
Yeah.
Which was far from it.
Yeah.
When he comes back from the hospital, because they were there a few months, his mom passed away.
JR's mom passed away.
Right.
Okay.
And he offered, to put the motion in, pay for the marshals so that he can go to his mom's
Who put
wake.
the motion in?
John. He wanted
John Gotti put the motion in for him to go get out.
Offered to pay the marshals, pay for everything so he can go and, see his mom. And obviously they denied it.
Okay.
He can't go. And how he looked out for some of the fellas' wives and got them jobs at, one of the places, what's that place for the fruits in Brooklyn that's really famous? Oh, God.
Where in Brooklyn? Fruits?
Yeah, for fruits and produce, and it was known that it was like mob control.
I forgot. I know the place you're talking about, the name.
Well, he got, I think there was like 4 or 5 of them, and he got them jobs like there. I think one of them at a law office as a paralegal or secretary, but he did. He was, again, very, very offering and things. I mean, the guy will get you stuff. You need a job, you needed this. He will make it happen. And you're talking about a bunch of kids from Brooklyn that ain't got nothing to do with the mom, right? And he looked out, which was amazing, So obviously, you consider him a friend, right? And you're going to obviously look out for him and anybody, say anything, and maybe that's why he did it. I doubt it because he was always like that in the street. So, it made you say, wow, he is a good dude. No matter what he did, right? That was outside of that. As a friend, as a person, he was a good dude.
So it gave you a different perspective on that lifestyle. Like, he was like, yo, this guy was the fucking boss.
Yes.
He carried himself like a boss.
Yeah, he did.
Exactly.
100%. You know what I mean? And always lived the creed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right. So now 22 to 47. Now you're home. Now, you're coming home. So what's your thought process now? Like, the fucking world, the world changes every fucking 2 years, let alone 25 fucking years, man. So now what's your process as you're coming home? Like, what's your thought process? Like, what's your game plan?
I had so many, right? Just to fall back on.
Okay.
Right? So obviously, during my 25 years, obviously the most important thing that you need is obviously education, right? Mm-hmm. You need to learn everything that's changed. What's going on? How is going on? What do you need to do? What's the language? What's everything that's changing, right? So I dedicated myself to obviously studying as much as I could, a bunch of degrees in all kinds of fields. But obviously I was always drawn back to, I would love to, if at some point I can save the money to open up a car dealership again.
Shit. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So clearly, I come home. I'm working cleaning. A friend of mine owns a cleaning company. Mm-hmm. So he gives me a job, and I'm cleaning a couple of Foot Lockers in Manhattan, 34th Street, 42nd Street.
And Hector, what year is this? What year?
20. I came home November 2013. So this is 2014 because I was in a halfway house.
Okay.
Right? They gave me 10 months of halfway house. So I'm cleaning the Foot Lockers and these stores, sweeping and mopping, right? So as I'm going through that and doing all that, an opportunity arises, right? A friend of mine's calls me up and he says, yo, one of our friends is selling his dealership out in Long Island.
Okay.
Right? I say, who? He says, Mike Cruz.
Yeah.
And I say, you serious? So, hey, listen, let's talk to him. Tell him, I like to get it. So he sets up a meeting with Mike. I come out here. We talk.
Yeah.
We set it up. And hey, he sells me the dealership.
So Hector, at that time, so when these guys had at that time, they had that show.
They had gotten canceled. They had it like 6 months before.
They had it 6 months before, and it was the Car Fellas, right? Okay.
Right.
It was the Broadway. What was his name of his place? It was
Broadway Motors.
Broadway Motors.
Right.
So they had the reality show for a little bit.
Right, on Discovery.
Discovery Channel.
Right.
Okay. So now you get the place.
Right.
You buy it from them.
Right.
And just the ball starts rolling, man. Right?
Exactly.
So the hustle's there because you're a fucking hustler.
Exactly.
And the desire's there because you had all that fucking time, man.
Mm-hmm.
And now, where's it going now? What's Broadway doing now?
Well, obviously, I started there with about 9 cars.
Okay.
Right? Build up the floor plan, build up the cash reserves, get there 15, 20, 30 vehicles, giving the dealership a better reputation.
Okay.
Of better cars.
Okay.
Before they just had older cars, not that they were bad, they were just older, right? Of lesser value. So I bring it up a little bit, offer a couple of more products and more banks, more vehicles. So, it picks up after about, I would say 2 years.
Okay.
I'm already at the 20 car mark.
Yep.
And obviously I'm getting vehicles from several sources, wholesalers, the auction, and I'm there by myself basically for the first couple of years, doing all the hats, right?
Yeah.
So, before even the plate program, sometimes I have to leave the customer there.
And go run to DMV.
Yeah, run to DMV,
get
the plate. Yeah.
Come back.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I still do.
Yeah. So now let's fast forward now. Let's go to 2023. Now. You're expanding your horizon. Like, fuck this, man. Your shit is getting good. The pandemic hit. You're getting through the pandemic. Now we're sitting in a different building now. That's how big is this building?
30,000 square feet.
30,000 fucking square feet. And how big is Amityville compared to this?
The whole
people
thing
know.
is 3,000 square feet.
3,000 square feet. And now you have an indoor fucking showroom. You have other stuff you can do, repairs and stuff like that. You built a podcast studio in here too, man. And listen, everyone who's involved is fucking grateful. Anybody who knows you, man, is fucking grateful. Like we had this other guy, Mike Cruz, on there, our first guy. Same thing, man. Anybody who speaks about Mike speaks highly. And same thing with you. Everybody, same fucking thing. You fucking help out so many people. I see people come in. You could just like, hey, man, whatever. You fucking take the time. They have your cell number. They call you. Hey, man, maybe at the dealership. It could be a fucking Sunday, I see. And you're there. You get the mechanic here. And you do the fucking right thing. And like we always talk about it, that karma shit, it comes back. You do good, you get good, Exactly. And I think that's what's happening now in this situation. I think it's come full circle with everything, man. And listen, I'm grateful to meet you, man. I met you about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And we hit it off right there. Exactly. We said, listen, one day there's going to be a time where this is going to come to fruition where we're going to fucking do something, man.
Exactly.
And I'm thankful that it happened now, man. And I'm thankful I met your family, your wife, your daughter, man. And,
me also.
And we got some good people. These fucking guys with this podcast, man.
Yes.
They guys are like nonstop. This is their thing, man.
Yes.
Like, But listen, we have something special, man. And Broadway's going to be more special. This fucking building, they're going to walk in this building. When they see this place done, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, man. But listen, it's a great story, man. And it's only going to get better. And like you said, you got a dealership. Now the franchise opportunities are starting to come. So there it is, man. That whole time you had to think, man, you manifested that shit, and now it's going to happen, dude. It has to.
Exactly.
It has to. You want anything with this, man? You want to?
Just, I'm glad to be here. Like every day I wake up, that's why I always have a smile.
Yeah.
No matter how bad things are going, you got to be thankful you're alive.
Yeah, man.
You got your health. And, just live the day. Live the day.
You gotta be grateful, man.
Exactly. Every day you have.
You gotta be grateful and be happy and humble, man.
Exactly.
That's it.
It's the only way to be.
That's it. All right, cool. Hector, man, it's been fucking awesome.
Thank you, Mike.
It's gonna blow up, man.
Yes,
all right, brother?
Yes.
I love you to death, man. You're like my brother, man.
Yes. Yeah, same thing here, buddy.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Thank you.